Lurking deep in the shadows is the old enemy, Al-Qaeda. These days, everyone's too concerned about white supremacy and the far right, which is kind of like a little smokescreen going on. And of course, there was ISIS. Let's not forget ISIS. This is all a good plug. Watch my very well-made video called The Far Right Bogeyman, the Fear Machine's new best friend. There'll probably be a link up there in a minute. Just keep an eye out for it. Look into it. It took me a long time to do, and I appreciate more views, because YouTube actually took some views away from it. It hasn't had many views as it is. I don't know why it's the second time in my life YouTube has taken views away from me, and I don't know why. It's not like I botted anything. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, the point is, we're so caught up in this fear of something that's quite small, like far right terror isn't that terrifying. It isn't. It's not that major. It's not like escalating as much as this kind of stuff was. We were terrified of Al-Qaeda for a very long time, and then we sort of just forgot about them. And people who are experts in this kind of stuff have always warned about Al-Qaeda like 2.0, Al-Qaeda 2, like the resurgence of Al-Qaeda, because of Hamza Bin Laden, who now is apparently dead. And more surprisingly of all, he died over a week ago, and I never found out about it. Now, I'm always trawling through the news, not because I have an avid interest in the news, but I'm always looking for stuff to ridicule, really, and just go, look at this. And then like some stuff, I'm like, all right, I think this needs to be discussed. So I was looking through my usual look through the Guardian of saying, well, what nonsense can I find in the Guardian for me to just rant on about for like 15 or 20 minutes? And I found this, and I was like, oh really? Didn't know. I find that astonishing that we don't know. Same way as how when I was doing research for a podcast I did, which is also about the far right myth. Hey, there might be a link coming up now. And I was looking at the death count in Afghanistan since the beginning of the invasion in 2001. And 2018 was one of the bloodiest years, 40,000 deaths. And there's something like 130 or 140,000 deaths altogether over 17, 18 years. But 40,000 deaths in 1 year, and that was 2018, which is a lot in the grand scope of things. I don't get talked about. And the fact that it isn't being discussed is something perhaps you should be worried about. Because I'm critical of the way we were sort of conditioned to be scared of like the Islamic bogeyman, basically, when actually we're living in quite a peaceful time. There wasn't that much danger going on. But now that we're living in a time where we're scared of this other bogeyman, the far right one, the real dangerous thing is out there and no one's talking about it. That's weird. Like, why? That's when the conspiracy man will come in and go, well, I'll tell you why, boy. It's weird. So a lot of people think that ISIS, a lot of people that joined ISIS, sort of turned their backs on Al-Qaeda because Osama Bin Laden was like the focal point. He was like, he was the figurehead. He was someone that people looked up to. And people, Majid Nawaz talked about this, about how Hamza was being groomed as, something to bring everyone back to Al-Qaeda. Hey, this, come on, we're going to bring back the glory days, boys. It's Hamza. But now he's dead. But this guy is going to talk about something here. And what was even more interesting, is this photo here of Bin Laden teachers. This is in Bangkok. When I saw that, I was like, oh, what? Oh. If I see, like, I ain't seen that in public. If I seen that, I don't know what I'd say. I'd be like, what? Okay. Death to the West, boys. Bye. So, let's see what this guy has to say. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Do you remember Al-Qaeda? Not the Al-Qaeda of today that no one pays any attention to, but the one of a decade or so ago, with its sinister mastermind leader hidden in the deep cave complexes of the Hindu Kush, the sleeper cells all over North America, or more realistically, its ideology that inspired young men in the UK to travel to Pakistan to be trained in the terrorist techniques used to kill more than 50 people on tube trains and a bus in London. Yeah, Al-Qaeda inspired a lot of people, but ISIS arguably inspired more. But that's another thing. Probably not. If you've given much thought to the organisation in the past year or so, you're a member of a fairly select group. This raises a profound question. How is that group that commanded such extraordinary, unprecedented attention across the world from 2001 to 2011, which is when ISIS started going, whoop, can disappear from public attention so completely? Once, stories about new threats posed by Al-Qaeda, biological weapons smeared on doorknobs, false, explosives concealed as liquids and smuggled onto planes, true, filled our newspapers. Rappers parodied its propaganda videos. Osama Bin Laden's every utterance was passed and picked over. He was described wrongly as a Muslim Che Guevara. His face was on leather jackets of Thai bikers and t-shirts in Kenya, while his name was given to a rogue elephant in northeastern India. I don't remember that elephant, or maybe I do, I don't know. Anyway, the organisation mentioned Al-Qaeda just... So The Guardian, it goes on to say, The Guardian, an observer whose pages were once replete with reports on the organisation, mentioned Al-Qaeda just 11 times in the past year, and 2 of those references were prompted by the death of the son of Osama, Hamza Bin Laden, the golden child as he was, which was reported by US officials last week. And when Al-Qaeda did appear in speech notes of the US president, it was misspelt. One obvious reason, here's a Guardian article, they had to throw him in somewhere. One obvious reason for this precipitous decline in the attention given to the group has been the appalling successes of Islamic State in recent years, particularly its far superior use of modern media techniques and technology. Very true. Its rivals' bloody videos have overshadowed Al-Qaeda's pedestrian efforts at communication, which still often comprise tedious lectures by its wooden, uncharismatic 68-year-old leader, Ayman al-Zawahiri. He's not... he hasn't got that sparkle that Osama had, has he? Just hasn't got that sparkle, has he? Oh, yeah, you know. Could the digital revolution be to blame? Though conventional wisdom is the new media provide opportunities in insurgents and extremists, Al-Qaeda's ability to command global headlines peaked well before digital technologies were widespread. Its decline occurred as they have spread. Perhaps this legacy news organizations, the group has simply struggled to adapt to the new media environment. That could be a very good point. Because the media, especially, if you looked at media sites when ISIS propaganda videos were getting released, it was like a daily occurrence. It was terrifying. And it got so many clicks and everyone's talking about it because it's like, God, have you seen what these nutters have done now? It's a very good point of how one took over the mindset. And you think about how it's been perpetuated. Because the media's been, like I said, in my video that I did, there was a link earlier probably. You know, it was a very beautiful marriage between them. You know, they got juicy news all the time from ISIS because there was a new video, there's a new something. There's always something because they were producing it, which means the media could just, just throw it out there for us to see. They helped spread the message. You think how many people it helped inspire. Because news organizations will go, well, there was a spread on, they went after Twitter, they went after YouTube. You've got all this going on and it's influencing people, and yet they are redistributing ISIS propaganda all the time. They were doing it all the time. And they're having to go at Twitter and YouTube for hosting videos. It's like, you're putting it out there. Probably more blood on your hands than any of those others. Because you've got, YouTube, you have to go look for it. Okay? And then the algorithm may find you. But you gave it to people as top news. It's very different. Okay? So you think about how many people the mainstream media influenced, helped spread the influence at ISIS. But look at the data. ISIS start rising to power and their sophisticated use of new media, and I'm about to draw a graph here, that's what my finger's doing, like, and the amount of terrorist incidents worldwide went whoop, like a massive increase from 2011 upwards until its peak in 2015, 2016, 2017, when it was just fucking mental. You're talking, went from like 8,000 to something like 30,000 plus incidents. Crazy rise. Think how complicit the media were, how much of an aid they were for this to happen. Think about it. Anyway. But this seems inadequate as an explanation for Al-Qaeda's almost total eclipse. There are others that are simpler. One is that Bin Laden, a perfect front man with his backstory of relinquished riches and quiet authority, was killed. But it is interesting that, contrary to the expectations of many, his death at the hands of US Special Forces at his hideout in northern Pakistan in 2011 did not create a cult following, although his name is still venerated in jihadist circles. The real reason for its lower profile is that Al-Qaeda has dramatically changed its strategy in recent years. I don't know anything about this. It now eschews spectacular attacks on Western targets, or targets in the West, in favor of a slow, careful expansion in the Sahel. Sorry, I cut that off. In the Sahel, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, Afghanistan, and elsewhere. There have been many setbacks, but this approach brings some dividends. A solid presence in important parts of the Islamic world, loyal participants in high-profile conflicts, a distance from ISIS's egregious brutality, and a significant decline in attention paid to it by Western policymakers. This leads to an important conclusion. Al-Qaeda's eclipse is not just the natural passing of one dangerous group. Nathan Sales, the US State Department's counterterrorism coordinator, told reporters that what we see today is an Al-Qaeda that is strong as it has ever been. It is a deliberate choice, which implies that acquiring the high profile the group once enjoyed was a conscious decision to. After all, very often that you turn off, you can turn back on. This says a lot about the nature of terrorism and the reaction it produces. Bin Laden became notorious by design, not accident. He used violence to radicalize supporters, mobilize backing, and terrorize enemies. He built his brand in the days before digital media by ensuring that what he did received vast publicity. Not only did he understand that those targeted by terrorism extrapolate from a single act to imagine a general threat. One bus has been attacked, so all are now seen as dangerous. It's very true. That's how terror works, baby. One office block in the city has been destroyed, so all buildings are now at risk. But that sympathizers did so too. For everyone, including many policymakers, a small number of spectacular and very violent gestures suggested a power and potential to harm that was very much greater than the group ever really possessed. Bang on. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with that more. Absolutely. Definitely. It was hype. Hype. They helped sell. The media helped sell the message. They helped the brand become so strong that they influenced people and inspired people. That's how it works, man. It's no different. You know, all the free publicity that Donald Trump got from talking his crazy talk, the media were complicit in helping him get into power, and yet, you know, they go rampantly after him, talking about him, everything he does, without learning from their mistakes. It was on you. You helped him. They helped him sell the brand of Al-Qaeda. Even the 9/11 attacks in 2001 involved just 19 hijackers, plus a relatively light support network and a training camp or two. Most of its operations involved fewer people and resources, the cave complexes, and those secret weapons did not actually exist. This is not to say the group never posed a threat. It did, as the appalling carnage that resulted from its attack attests, but that for much of its existence there was very much less to Al-Qaeda than met the eye. One aim of the violence was to prompt a massive, in many ways counterproductive response from the West. In this too, Al-Qaeda was successful. No one knows what directions the late and unlamented Hamza Bin Laden might have taken Al-Qaeda had he assumed leadership. United Nations Security Council report last week disclosed that al-Zawahiri is in poor health, with questions over his longevity. If a new head of Al-Qaeda decides to ramp up the global profile of the group with a few attacks on Western interests, will we respond any differently than we did between 2001 and 2011? I doubt it. Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. But the fact that it's bubbling, it's just been bubbling on, growing strong. Its influence on the ground. It did all the hard work. And now it's like it's here, there, and it's just all these places, all these hotbeds of violence and struggle. You know, it's got way more outposts. No one's talking about it. It's always the things they're never talking about that's gonna come get you. You know what I mean? There's all the fears that you have. There's all the things that you think, oh God, this is then this. Oh my God, what's he doing? Oh my God. But like, there's the secret deadly killer is hiding in the shadow. You know, just waiting, because they haven't given up. No one knows what they're really planning. They haven't vocalized it. Now I feel like I'm instilling fear, but I'd say, you know, what's the real threat? Al-Qaeda ain't gone away. You know, Al-Qaeda seems a bit old, passé, but the influence is probably still very strong. You know, a bit like one of those old YouTube channels. It's been around for a long time, got, you know, millions of subscribers, bygone era, and you look at it and you go, oh yeah, I remember them. Do they still make videos? Still do, still getting good numbers. No one's talking about them, but they're still doing good. Then they might have a little resurgence, like Shane Dawson. But it is interesting. I just found it, you know, utterly fascinating that it's not talked about. No one really talks about Hamza Bin Laden being killed when he was being hyped up. Everyone was like, he was on, you know, many top wanted lists. He was on watch lists. He was like #1 target on watch lists. Keep an eye on him. Like, what's he up to? New figurehead for Al-Qaeda. He's dead now, and no one talks about it. It's significant that he's dead. Anyway, keep your eyes peeled, because I tell you what, the one thing that is not going to get you is Britain First or National Action. Like that ain't going to do shit. They ain't going to do shit. But Al-Qaeda, you know, they out there, baby. They never went away. So, I mean, shouldn't be talking about, you know, they shouldn't be helping hyping them up. But at the same time, they shouldn't be like constantly distracting us from stuff with all these other distractions. It's just this fucking shit cycle of just, here's an enemy, here's something to be scared of, here's this, here's that. And when we don't get to find, you know, they pick and choose what we should know about. As in the media, you know, they just pick and choose what they believe we should know. And we end up being fucking ignorant and not really knowing what's going on, what's actually important to us. You know, that's what they do. And people should be sick of it. I'm sick of it. You should be sick of it. Choose something else.